What is happening, everybody? Welcome to the Vici Education Area, the new and improved updated model, if you want to call it that. Been working quite tirelessly over the last couple of weeks and months getting these systems in place that allow me to deliver education at a much better rate, at a faster pace, and overall keep it even more interactive as well with using, actually treat it like an actual classroom, like an actual lecture for those of you that really do care about the education standpoint. We're going to be utilising the Vici education system here now. Every single week I'm going to be uploading members area videos, education videos on a Wednesday evening into the group, along with interactive forms and like kind of lecture sheets that you can take yourself and fill in, which I'm going to show you very soon. And yeah, overall it's just going to be a really solid addition to the coaching, especially in powerlifting, more so than any other kind of sport. I find that you have to know the why behind what you're doing. It's not just being told by your coach, like, go and do this, or getting a program and going and running it. It's like you don't know the reason why you're doing everything, from an exercise selection standpoint to nutrition to strategies. You're not going to be as all in. So the purpose of this whole education is all about trying to create, really dependent and good, knowledgeable lifters. So this is episode 1, and where we are pulling this from. So I have a bank of ideas and things that I'm going to be creating. Basically everything training, nutrition, mindset, technique, programming, coaching related to do with strength training. Everything there is to do with it. From a physique development standpoint, a powerlifting development, getting out of pain, improving movement quality. They're the 3 big pillars that I specialise in at Vici, and I'm going to go all in on. I'm also using your end of month forms. I sent the first one out last month. I'm going to send it out every single month. And in that EOM form, you're going to have the opportunity to give me tell me what you want to learn. And I'm going to pull that into the Vici education system. So that is how we're going to go for it. On top of that, what you will also have, as I said, is this is going to be very interactive. And I'm going to give all you guys a link to a Google Doc, right? Which is this document right here. And in each doc, you're going to get a specific Google document and like a lecture form for each training. And what it is basically it's where you go and fill in questions yourself. You'll have specific questions at certain times of the lecture, and this just makes it interactive. It also allows you to really fine tune your own approach and learn a lot better. So you will have an independent kind of form for each lecture. So the first one here, as we've seen, right, is Vici Strength Comp Day Preparation, dominating the platform through systematic preparation. Basically how we prepare for a comp to the best of our ability, okay? Everything we need to look at. So we have this interactive form to go with it. So competition day preparation. All you'll do is you'll hit file up here, you'll hit make a copy, and you'll call it, whatever you want to call it. So don't use the original document, the link that I send you in. What you're going to use is you're going to hit file, make a copy, and then you'll save that to your own Google Doc space, and you can just kind of save them away. Basically like homework, but fun ones. So it's where you can kind of put your name, if you have a competition date coming up, the weight class, and when you completed this. So this is basically going to allow you to go all in on this presentation. And each presentation you will see that the questions that are in the presentation are the exact same ones that are in these interactive worksheets as well, workbooks. So if you have this up on your screen over to the left or whatever, or you print it out at the same time as watching this video, you'll be able to see on each slide, the main questions at the bottom of the slide that we're asking ourselves. These are the exact ones in this workbook. It just gives you a place to write your answers down. And once you write all your answers down and save them away, it will give you an action plan. You have to, based on your answers above, list your top 3 areas that you need immediate improvement with when it comes to preparing for a competition, and then schedule a call with me to make these plans and improve your next comp. So really interactive, and you'll be able to kind of scroll through each section in the form as you need to. So have a form up to the left of the screen or print it out, whatever works, while watching what you're watching. So yeah, that is enough of the jibby jabby. I just thought I'd do like a 5-minute intro just to kind of teach you all about it and show you all what's to come. But let's get stuck into the presentation, and I'm going to make myself very small here because I am not what you need to see. So Vici Strength Comp Day Preparation, dominating the platform through systematic preparation. go. So to introduction, competition day is not where you build strength. Or even at peak. Peaking isn't where we build strength, it's where we want to display the strength that we've built throughout the previous year. So that instantly changes our mindset in terms of how we are approaching our peak and how we are approaching our comp day, in terms of preparing us best for that. There's a lot of examples where in a peak, actually more examples than that, where you don't actually, I say this all the time, you don't actually and shouldn't have to go near what you think you're going to hit in competition during your peak. And the way we want to look at this is essentially, we can actually look at it from a gender standpoint and a body weight standpoint. Typically females, especially lightweight females, are going to be able to hit closer, if not hit what they hit in peak as to what they're going to hit in training. Due to the recoverability being very, very good, in a smaller female, they can tolerate them kind of 95% plus loads, recover from it and not make a detriment to performance in subsequent sessions. Whereas if you're a male, specifically more a heavier weight male, then the more often you take big weights closer to your 1 rep max, that's just inducing fatigue and limiting performance in following sessions to come in your peak. So if you, for example, if a deadlifter deadlifts 275 kilo, I've seen many a times where in a peak that maybe someone has only went to 240 or 250 kilo at max, and then they've pulled 275 in comp, and that's usually where you will see things. So it's not about where competition days, where you build strengths, where you display it. The difference between training PRs and platform PRs comes down to systematic preparation across 4 main pillars, which we're going to talk about today: training, recovery, lifestyle, and nutrition. This training covers the exact protocols to help VT athletes go 9 for 9 smash PRs when it matters most up on the platform. So section 1, training. So training point number 1, which you'll see as well in your little booklet. So this is the first point, is managing fatigue in your peak. And basically training and your peak. Like how do we manage your peak? Getting the caffeine in here. Peak phases aren't about doing more. They're about doing exactly enough to express your strength without burying yourself. So there's a bell curve analogy that I like to use here, okay? Which we'll get to in a little bit. So key talking points. When we are in a peak, a couple of things that we can do is we can reduce volume by 5 to 40% in the final 2 to 3 weeks, while maintaining intensity up towards 85 to 95+%. So what does this mean? It basically means that as your training gets really hard a couple of weeks out from training, we can drop the total amount of sets that you're doing per week in both SBD and accessories to allow you just to get more fresh, just to recover that a little bit better and continue performing while maintaining intensity at 85 to 95%. So that just basically means we're still shifting heavy weights because that's what we got to get better at. But if we're excessively fatigued, it's volume that induces a lot of fatigue as well. So it's the first thing that we need to reduce by. And the reduction percentage is 5 to 40% for a reason. There's a big variability there. Like I said, smaller, lighter weight females might only need to take 5% or 10% off, whereas you might get heavier weight males that maybe need to start deloading up to 30 to 40%, 1, 2, maybe even 3 weeks out. So it's all very individual. Drop accessory exercises down to 1 to 2 per session, focusing only on movement prep and weak point maintenance. So basically, the further out from competition we are, we know at Vici we place a huge emphasis on body composition, muscle growth and bodybuilding style trainings, which usually includes a lot more accessories. As we get closer to competition, we have to prioritise that competition only, nothing else. That means limiting our accessories, dropping them down, and the fatigue that we save from doing that energy we save is going to go straight into the performance of your squat, bench and deadlift. So when it comes to peaking, usually the accessory movements will taper down, maximum 1, 2 or 3 per session, allowing the main lifts to flourish. The next point is monitor daily readiness through muscle soreness scores. Basically, whenever we're looking at performance, we got to make sure that our muscle soreness isn't actually being a limiting factor here either. And this is where it gives us the decision as to, do we need to drop exercises down, or do we need to drop any volume down? So if you are training and you're sore for like 2, 3, 4 days in a row and it's limiting following subsequent sessions, it's probably a sign that we need to reduce some volume, take some accessories out and allow that body to recover so that it can perform when it needs to perform. So self-assessment questions. Number 1, are you still adding volume or accessories in your peaking phase? If you're adding volume, if you're adding sets, especially to your accessories, and if you're adding accessories in your peaking phase, you're probably going to be causing a detriment to your SBD. Second self-assessment question, is your muscle soreness increasing or staying elevated going into meet week? So basically, as you are training throughout your peak, is your muscle soreness getting worse? Is it going from 4 out of 10 to 5 out of 10, 5 to 6 out of 10? Is your fatigue really high at the point where you can't handle things? If so, we need to look at limiting, tapering back on a little bit of volume to allow you to flourish. And the next thing is this stress curve, this image here, which I wanted to pull up. So as we can see, I said at the top, kind of bell curve analogy for how much stress we want to be doing in a peaking phase, essentially. So what I like to tell people is really simple. If we look at this bell curve analogy, you've got performance coming up the top. We have stress levels coming along the bottom here, okay? So basically, as you do more and more stress, aka more sets, more weight, more heavy reps, we get stronger. Our performance goes up. But to a point, the tip of that bell curve is here. And as we continue to do more training stress, if we add more sets, we start to dip in performance into an exhaustion spot, which can be very easily done in peaks. So if you've ever had a peak where, first week, second week, or third week, or fourth week of peak, performance has been down the window, you've started failing reps, you're missing reps, you're just, you're all over the place, you've probably just tipped that bell curve in terms of how much you can actually handle and recover from. So we need to strip back to this perfect peak right here. And that's usually where we want to be. So it's very easy to fall over the top of that bell curve if you're doing too much or trying to do too much in a peak. Especially a big kind of mistake people make, like I said, is to try and hit close to their PBs in peak that they want to hit in the competition. And all of these big lifts are going to create excessive fatigue and probably tip you over that bell curve, meaning that for you to get back up here, you actually have to do a bigger deload to perform at your best in the competition. So that was training point 1, managing fatigue in your peak. Training point 2, practicing commands and meet simulation. The platform isn't the place to learn commands. Practice them every single week in your peak. So if you're not practicing them on your top singles in your peak, you're going to be missing out, and you're probably going to miss on commands at some stage. So the key talking points here, the main things that we're looking at is include pause work with verbal commands on bench press. So basically when you're benching, get someone to give you commands. Make sure your pausing is perfect. Make sure your setup looks really good, and be really humble with your commands too. Do not rush the press command. Make sure you're sticking to competition rules. On the squat, practice holding the squat and deadlift start positions for 3 to 5 seconds before each heavy attempt, especially on the squat primarily here. So whenever you unrack the squat and walk it out, practice holding for 3 to 5 seconds here before you get a start command or squat command to start your lift. Run at least one full mock meet in preparation with weigh-in, warm-up timing and flight simulation. Basically, start treating your SBD days like competition days, okay? We can look at this as a mock meet if you want, but if it's not a mock meet, just look at SBD days and how these can help you prepare for a competition. So if you have like an SBD day and you schedule it on a Saturday or a Sunday and you're going into the gym in around, the time that maybe you would compete, these are opportunities where you can kind of start to look at your entire day and be like, right, I'm going to pretend this is comp week. I'm going to practice the nutrition strategy and the breakfast that I'm going to eat. I'm going to weigh myself at the same time. I'm going to go in and do the same warm-up that I plan on doing. All of these little things add up. So if you can do them on the same day that you do an SBD day on or a mock meet, it's going to get you familiar with these things. And I actually find that for beginners, this can be very, very useful. Just practicing getting up and having your breakfast at a certain time and doing the same warm-ups, even the night before, having like certain nutrition strategies. It all comes into play. So if you've done the same thing over and over again, you know it's going to work. So the self-assessment questions here. Can you confidently hold your squat for 3 seconds while waiting for the squat command? That actually says 3 + 7, waiting for the up command. That's more for the bench press. But on the squat, whenever you walk your squat out, can you confidently stay at the top and wait for 3 to 5 seconds with a really heavy weight without crumbling? And have you practiced your bench commands without a training partner calling them out, or with a training partner calling them out, and actually being humble with your pauses? So they're the main 2 questions that you can fill in on your sheet. Training point 3, choosing your opener strategy. So how do we pick our attempts in a powerlifting competition? Let's get stuck into this. It's a really useful one to know. So when we're looking at attempt selection in powerlifting, the main thing that we look at is your opener should be a weight that you can hit confidently for a triple on your worst day. So your worst day of training, you wake up, you're stressed, you've had bad sleep, you can go in there, you can hit 3 reps at your opener. It's a non-negotiable. If it's iffy on that, reduce by 5 kg. So first thing is your opener is usually around 85 to 90% of your best gym single, or a weight that you've tripled in training within 4 weeks of competition. So this is where we're starting to get real specific with it. So typically a single at RP 6 to 7 is going to be your opener, and we're going to find that roughly at about 85% of your max. Second attempt is going to be a planned PR or matching your current best, which then sets you up for a PR. Okay, we can look at it in that analogy, or we can simply say that we're going to lift 92 to 97% of your best squat so far. And then your third attempt essentially is going to be decided after your second attempt's performance. So once you do your second attempt, that is what tells us, do we have 2.5 in us, 5.5, 7.5, or 10, right? That's just being really objective with it. Typically, we don't really have like a planned kind of percentage or anything here. Typically, it's 100 to 105% because we want to equal or break PBs here, but it all comes down to that second attempt. So add 2.5 to like 10 kg if depending on how the second attempt moved. So self-assessment questions whenever it comes to choosing your opener strategies. If you had the flu, could you still triple your planned opener? Ideally, on your worst day, it should still be a triple. Have you accounted for the fact that your gym single might be 2 to 5% higher than your platform best? And this is where we start to differentiate what is a gym PR versus a competition PR. And we do not, like when we're competing and we're tracking PRs, I only track comp PRs versus comp PRs. I'm not going to track gym PRs and comp PRs and put them together because it's a completely different kettle of fish. Like the environment, the day, the stress, everything that we get on comp day is going to be more of an impactor than you being able to go into the gym with your buds and eat whatever you want and be real comfortable and go for a gym PR. Completely different scenarios and completely different outcomes because of that. So it's just a good mental cue to teach and to get to grips with very early on. Training point number 4: training at a competition body weight is a massive one. Cutting weight on meet day destroys performance. Basically, the more you have to cut, the more your performance is going to be impacted. It's as simple as that. Now, to the detriment of how much someone's performance gets impacted, depends on quite a lot of things, like how much weight they had to cut, how close they were, what strategy they used to actually get the weight down as well. So there's lots of different things, but ideally we want to train as close to your competition weight as possible. So the main talking points here is we want to typically stay about 5% over your competition body weight for the entire peak phase or your strength phase. Like that's the max you'll ever want to be. So stay within kind of 2 to 3 kg of weight basically. So if you're like 74 kilo lifter, you don't really want to be going over 77 kg no matter what. Okay, so typically 2 to 3 kg or 5% is a good rule of thumb. If you need to cut more than 3 kg or 5%, we probably need to be looking at starting a calorie deficit a lot further out so that we can get to a stage where we can cut from 3 kg. And basically what I mean by this is if you're 2 or 3 kilo above your intended body weight, or like 5%, the strategies we can use to cut weight, such as gut cuts and water cuts and like water manipulation, things like this here, you can achieve 3 kg. Anything more than that, usually we cannot achieve, or it really, really eats into performance, which is why if you're over that, we need to start a deficit about 8 to 12 weeks out, not during the peak. You want to be 8 to 12 weeks out from your peak so that at your peak, you're training up here at your competition body weight or 3 kg of it. Okay. Practice weigh-ins at the same time of the day as your competition to understand your daily fluctuations. This is a big one. If you're weighing in at 8 o'clock, don't be weighing in at 12. Every day and expecting that to be the same at 8 o'clock. It's going to be different. So just get, real consistent with your weigh-in times. Self-assessment questions. Are you currently more than 5% above your body weight limit? If so, you need to have a conversation with me in terms of, right, what are my goals? What is my weight class? Like, what is the intended weight class? Does it even suit me anymore? And if so, how are we going to get down to this? What's the strategy and how long in advance do we need to be planning this for a competition? Second thing, have you weighed yourself at the actual time your competition will occur? That's a big one because, body weight can fluctuate multiple kilos overnight and throughout the day. And if you're not consistently weighing in around 7, 8, 9 a.m. in the morning, then you're not getting most accurate reading in terms of how much you need to be cutting down for a competition. Training point 5, specificity over variation in training at all times. Your competition lifts are the only exercise that matter in your peak. Everything else is just noise and excessive fatigue that you need, which is actually just going to limit the output on your competition lifts. Key teaching points here. When looking at programming, comp squat, bench and deadlift should be done 2 times per week at minimum. Obviously more on bench as well. So like 3, 4, sometimes even 5, depending on your programming. We want to reduce the amount of variation work, so tempos, pauses, deficits, etc. the way I want you to view like a tempo and a pause and a deficit and all these different exercises, right? View them as like modifications to the main lift. The more modifications we have, the further away or the less transfer effect it's going to have to your 1 rep max strength. So for example, look at a comp squat. A high bar squat has one modification because it's only a higher bar position. Everything else is the same. It's still a big squat. So it's going to have a high dynamic transfer. A high bar paused squat has two modifications. We've now added a pause in and a higher bar, less transfer. A high bar paused tempo squat with no belt, 4 modifications, the least transfer across to your 1 rep max strength. So that's the way we want to look at it. Basically, we want to reduce the amount of modifications we have in training in a peak and increase the amount of specificity to the comp SBD. Bar commands and depth should all match competition standards in every session that you train in a peak. So your depth should be really good on bench, your pauses are on squat, your pauses should be brilliant on bench press, and you should be hitting all white lights throughout every session to increase the likelihood of that happening in a competition. So self-assessment questions for 3.5. Are you still doing multiple variations of the comp lifts in your peak? So if you're doing like tempo pause beltless and stuff like that there in your peak, is probably taken away from SBD. Obviously if I'm doing your programming, you're not going to see this stuff, but it's just a thing that I would usually ask people. Then the second thing is, does your squat depth match what the judges are going to pass on platform? Will your pause match what the judges are going to pass on platform? Does your lockout and deadlift pass on the platform? You need to be really, really strict with yourself and ask yourself, am I doing really good here visually, and am I going to get passed from a judge? So section number 2 is all about recovery. Okay, so that was the first part, was all about training and programming. Section 2 now is all about recovery, because recovery is where we need to be really, really dialing in on for a competition. So the first part is recovery. Point number 1 is sleep is your performance drug. Sleep is the number one thing that underpins everything and anything you ever want to do in life, especially powerlifting training and peaking and breaking PBs, pushing your body to new limits. You cannot do it without sleep. Sleep quality drops, so does strength. You cannot out-train poor sleep in a peak. It just doesn't happen. Key talking points here. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, prioritising consistent bedtime wake times over the duration. Track sleep quality every week. So obviously we do in the performance system at Vici, we track your sleep quality and your sleep timing and your bedtime and your wake times, because this is all very, very important. But basically, if we start to see sleep quality dropping under a 3 out of 5 for a couple of days in a row, you can pretty much guarantee yourself that them subsequent sessions you've got, you need to be going in with a flexible auto-regulation mindset. You need to be going in being like, you know what, maybe I'm not at 100% today, sleep's been bad the last couple of days, I'm going to be smart about this and take 2.5 or 5 or 7.5 kilo off my top set today. So tracking sleep quality is one of the best things you can do. And when it comes to tracking sleep quality too, we don't need no fancy apps, you don't need no Whoops, you don't need no Aura rings or anything to track this stuff. You can simply just ask yourself, did I get a good sleep last night? Do I feel rested and do I feel energized for the day? Yes, 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 good sleep. No, 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 you're probably getting bad sleep. Implement a 60-minute wind down routine, no screens, make sure your room is cool, opening the window for 60 minutes before you go to bed, and just get into the bed at the same time every night. Not taking any caffeine after like 2 or 3 p.m. Things like this are going to be very, very beneficial to improving your sleep, winding down, and then as a subsequent, improving your performance. So the big questions here from a sleeper standpoint is your sleep duration or quality dropping as your peak phase progresses? So as you're progressing into a competition, what's your sleep looking like? You need to really dial it in. Do you have a consistent nighttime routine that you follow? At least 6 to 7 nights per week. If not, we need to dial that in for your peak. Can't be just winging sleep times coming into the biggest, heaviest block of the year, essentially. Pain recovery point 2. Turn the wee spotlight on because I like that. Active recovery outside the gym. Recovery doesn't happen by sitting on the couch. It happens through deliberate, low-intensity movement. Key talking points. Hit 7,000 plus steps per day through light walking, very light cycling, or just moving about in general, okay? Studies show that we get tremendous recovery and health benefits when we start to increase steps from sub 6K to over 6K. However, studies also show that we start to see negative detriments in performance and health if we go over 12 to 14K all the time as well. So you can do too much too, but hit 7,000 to 12,000 steps per day and you're likely going to be doing enough for recovery. Include 10 to 15 minutes of mobility work on your off days. Hips T-spine and shoulders. They're the three main areas that a powerlifter needs to be greasing the groove on all the time, especially if somewhere is sore for you, consistently making sure that you're doing mobility and you're stretching these areas out as often as you can. And then use 1 to 2 low intensity steady state cardio sessions per week, 15 to 30 minutes, 4 out of 10 effort, to aid recovery and manage stress. It reduces stress, it reduces cortisol, it increases endorphins, it increases recovery, makes the knees feel good, does everything. I program lists for every single one of you. Everyone that's watching this video will have lists programmed at a minimum once a week. Even the lightest, most shredded lifters that I have are still doing cardio because it's so good for managing stress and aiding into recovery. So it's a big one. Self-assessment questions for this is, are your daily steps consistently above or below 7,000? Especially in a peak phase, that's the first thing you need to clean up. And when was the last time you dedicated mobility work outside the gym? So at home, you practice, 5 minutes in the morning or 5 minutes at night time, going over that one area that you're really stiff in, whether it's your T-spine or your shoulders are tight or your hips are tight, whatever it might be. We need to be looking at ways that we can improve upon that. Here's another wee pro tip is that mobility and kind of flexibility and feeling good in joints is something that only reacts to frequency, not intensity as much. So basically what I mean by that is if you've got tight shoulders and tight hips or sore achy areas, if you've got a mobility routine for these, if you hit that mobility routine 4, 5, 6, 7 times per week, you're going to get a better outcome than doing it 1 or 2 or 3 times per week. So frequency is massive for mobility stuff. Recovery point number 3, managing stress and lifestyle factors. So stress from life impacts recovery just as much as stress from training. You can't ignore it. It's the same thing. Your body just gets stressed and that's it. So track daily stress levels. Again, similar to the sleep. Communicate with me when it's elevated for 3+ consecutive days. If you've got a really 1, 2 or 3 big stressful days, you need to have the mindset instantly of an auto-regulation mindset. My training's going to be interrupted here because I'm extremely stressed. I need to communicate with my coach so that I can adjust my mindset, my expectations of the following sessions, and auto-regulate. I'm going to drop 2.5, 5, 10 kilo off my projected top set. Maybe going to take a wee set off. Whatever it might be, we have to auto-regulate here. You can't, brute force will just get you injured. So communicate with me in terms of if you get that stress. And even if you can be proactive about it, if you know you've got a busy week next week, be proactive about it. Communicate and adjust accordingly. The second thing is reduce non-training stressors. So basically, I preach having a life outside of powerlifting. I preach having multifaceted goals, having bodybuilding and powerlifting as a goal, or running and powerlifting, or powerlifting and high rocks, or whatever it might be. I preach being able to do everything. But when it comes to peaking and you're 2, 3, 4 weeks out from the competition, it's the one time or second, however much times you can peak per year. It's the one time or 2 times per year where you have to just prioritize it. You have to go all in on it. Drop the secondary sport down, just everything goes into the powerlifting in the final couple of weeks. Daily stress management, implement daily stress management. So every single week, I make sure that I personally get at least 1 to 2 hours per week where I am out doing something that I really enjoy and have fun doing and completely switching off. Okay, every week there has to be 1 to 2 hours in my routine where I'm doing something. It's called escapism. It's where you're getting away and doing something fun. For me, it's like going out and playing a round of golf or something like that there. Or going for a boojum, if you know me. And then every month, try to get at least 1 to 2 full days off where you've no training, no work, no nothing, and it's just you going out there, doing what you enjoy, having fun, whether it's hiking, golfing, different things. Try to get 1 to 2 full days. It will make a massive difference if you follow that weekly, every week for 1 to 2 hours, and then monthly 1 to 2 days. So, self-assessment questions. Are you tracking stress levels and communicating with me on how stressed you actually are and how maybe we need to adjust your training all the time? Never try to fit the training to you. Never try to fit yourself to a training program. We will try and fit the program to you, basically. And the program is very adaptable. Have you actively reduced unnecessary life stress in your peaking phase? So if you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks out, it's time to lock in. It's time to drop the rock climbing. It's time to drop the fishing, the golf, whatever it is that you're into. It's time to drop it, go all in the powerlifting and pick it back up after the peak because it will take away. There's lots of studies that show that whenever you pick up a secondary sport along with powerlifting, if that secondary sport is new and more fresh, your brain from a cognitive standpoint will bias performance and bias skill acquisition in that sport more than it will your powerlifting. So it's always good to know that so that we can bias that powerlifting coming into a comp. Recovery point 4, hydration and inflammation management. Dehydration kills performance and increases inflammation. and wreck your strength output. So dehydration is massive. Key talking points when it comes to this is drink 3 to 4 litres of water minimum daily. More if you're training in the heat or doing cardio. Doesn't matter if you're a 47 kg female, 3 litre. That's your target. It's just a good place to be, and that is your minimum requirement per day. Pro tip here, only increase your water by 200 to 300 ml every couple of days. When you're starting to build it up, don't go from 1 litre to 3 or 2 to 4, because you're just going to pee it out. Your body's not used to it. Your body can get accustomed to more water intake if you start to build it up in 2 to 300 mils increments over every 3 to 4 days. So that's what I would recommend doing. Avoid inflammatory foods, basically, in your peaking phase, but just in general too. So like highly processed foods, excessive alcohol, food that you know maybe bloat you up and stuff. Like, it's all stress. Gut stress is huge. And, you know, it's the same as training stress. You've got life stress, you've got gut stress. Like, the more stress we can reduce everywhere else, the more that you can put into that performance for your powerlifting. So really cleaning up your diet and focusing on really, you know, avoiding inflammatory processed shite, essentially. Third point, consider anti-inflammatory strategies if you're really struggling with it. So like quality sleep hygiene, so making sure like you're improving your sleep, like you're setting a bedtime and a wake time every day and you're sticking to it. You're opening the window an hour before bed to cool the room down. Your room is completely dark. You're not having caffeine after 3 p.m. You've went for a walk that day. You're not eating within an hour and a half of going to bed. You're avoiding screens for an hour before you go to bed. There's 5 to 6 things instantly that I do in a peak just to make sure that my recovery is really good and my sleep is good. And even supplementation with like omega-3s and stuff can be very good as well. So if you are more inflamed than usual and it's really, you know, it's a hindrance, start looking into the extras. So self-assessment questions again, coming down onto the form is, are you consistently hitting 3+ litre of water intake every day? If not, we got to improve that and jump up into the 300 ml increments. And have you identified and eliminated foods that cause bloating or inflammation for you personally? So if you know there's foods and meals where you're just like bloated or you're inflamed or your gut's just not happy, they need to be removed in your peak and you need to be eaten to feel and perform really, really well. So on to recovery point 5, the last one for recovery here. Listening to your body signals. Your body tells you when to push, but also when to back off. Ignoring it leads to bombing out or underperforming or even injuring yourself. If muscle soreness is over a 3 to 4 out of 10 by meet week, you've done too much volume, too close to competition. We have to get down to that kind of 1 out of 10 in terms of you're just feeling nice and fresh coming into a meet week. Or going into your meet itself. Energy levels dropping across multiple days is a sign to reduce the volume or add in more recovery days. So if basically week 2, week 3 and week 4 you're at peak and you're just subsequently getting less and less energy and your fatigue is subsequently building higher and higher, we need to be looking at reducing volume, putting some fatigue management strategies in there and recovering a little bit better. And then like I talked about, with just communicating daily readiness with me, because decision making is everything, and that's what decision making is in the gym. It's when you're in the gym, you're super fatigued, you're stressed, you've just come from work or something like that, you're sitting there, the bar's in front of you. What do? How do you auto-regulate here? Do you have the confidence in your decision making? You have to be making these smart decisions. Without these decision making skills, you're going to burn out, injure yourself without auto-regulating your session. So yeah, communicating with me ahead of all sessions like that can be very good. Self-assessment questions. Do you actually track and communicate your daily readiness signals to me? If not, you need to start. And basically that's just like how you feel every day. Like, is your stress high? Is your sleep being poor? Are you sick? Things like this. We can adjust every single session if we need to. Have you ever backed off training because your body was telling you? Or do you always push through? If that is always push through, you need better decision making skills. Again, something that we can chat about on a one-to-one call. So section 3, lifestyle. So lifestyle point number 1. Time management and meet day logistics. Chaos and competition day kills performance. Okay? Basically, the first thing I do with all my athletes on competition day is chill them the fuck out. I grab them, I get them away from the chaos, stop them from running around like headless chickens, sit down, calm yourself, compose yourself, take it all in, conserve your energy, and don't be going around the place getting distracted as well. So it's a chaotic place. We want to minimize the chaos in our athletes' brains. So the key teaching points here for competition days: create a detailed timeline 48 hours before comp. Know when this is what I do as a coach anyway, but know when your weigh-in time is, where the warm-up room is, when do warm-ups start, flight schedule, meal times, where are you going to eat? Do you eat before squat? Do you eat after bench? What type of foods are you eating? These are things you need to have an actual timeline on, and know exactly what to be doing ahead of competition. Arrive at the venue 20 to 30 minutes early every time. Know where the warm-up area is, know where you have to go into your rack heights, know where the bathrooms are, get familiar, get comfortable, do not be late. Have backup plans for everything. Food, equipment, freaking underwear, t-shirts, it doesn't matter. Have backups for everything. Just bring it and double check twice. Self-assessment questions for this is, have you written out a minute-by-minute schedule for your competition day? Like, do you know what you're doing at every 5-minute interval of that day? Whether it's eating, whether it's digesting, whether it's warming up, whether it's lifting, whether it's, it could be so many different things, but have a plan in place. Second question, do you know exactly where the warm-up area is and what equipment is available? And knowing like kind of where you're going to go initially. You should always stock this out before it's warm-up time. If your warm-up starts at 12:30 and you're seeing the warm-up room for the first time at 12:30, you haven't done yourself justice. Get into the venue early, scout the place out, walk around the warm-up area, have a look at things, know where you're going, look in at the racks, and visualize everything ahead of time. Lifestyle point number 2, community support system. Training alone is hard. Competing alone is brutal. Be around your people. Have people there. We know at Vici you're never alone. You're around, well, I'll be biased, the best people that there is. And you definitely have, me there every single step of the way. But I know that competing alone is brutal because I've been there and done that. Key talking points for community and sports system is bring a handler or a coach who knows everything. The warm-up protocol, your attempts can keep you calm. Someone that you just vibe with. Okay, you have to have someone there, like your number one main anchor, that's going to control that entire day. They're going to tell you when to eat. They're going to tell you where to go. They're going to tell you what weights to lift. They're going to load your bar. They're going to clean up after you. They're going to grab your food. All these different things. You need that one primary handler or coach on the day. And obviously, you watching this, you've got me for in person. But anyone across seas and stuff that's watching this, or clients that I've got in other countries, then you'll know. This is a big thing to have, and usually as comps go on, you want to use the same person time and time again and build that relationship with them so that you can improve comp to comp. Surround yourself with training partners and the Vici community on Meet Day for energy and sports. So basically, like, get around your tribe. Like, you have people there. Like, if you have 1, 2, 3, or if you have 10 people, it doesn't matter how many people you have to be around that atmosphere. You have to be there. You have to be utilising them for support, energy, on that day. Don't just, go and sit on your own out in the car or something. Be around the right people. Avoid negative and anxious people in your warm-up area. You're always going to see them. Every competition has them. Every federation has them. People who just, we'll not go into detail, but they're people you do not want to be around. Whether it's people who are like real big-headed or people who, are just mean, nasty, whatever it might be, you're avoiding these people. Energy is contagious on competition day. You're around good people and good people only. So self-assessment questions. Do you have someone handling you that actually knows their shit? If not, you need to go and find someone that does and build a relationship there. Are the people you're bringing to support you going to elevate your energy or drain it? Okay, there's people I know I do not want to be around on comp day because it's going to drain my energy. There's crowds of people I know I don't want to be around. There's people I love but I still wouldn't want to be around right beside before I go out to hit a big lift because it would just not put me in the focused mood. You need to be around the right people. You need to visualize this and have them there. Lifestyle point number 3, competition day do's and don'ts. So small details make massive differences when nerves are high and stakes are elevated. So this is what we do at Vici Strength. We talk about it all the time. We go into the 1%. The 1% matter. And here's another part. 1% don't add up, they multiply in terms of how important they are. They are extremely important. So when it comes to the do's of competition day, stick to your exact training warm-up routine. You don't need to come in and do a completely different warm-up routine in comp day because it's comp day. Whatever you've done warming up for squat, bench and deadlift in your last 6 months that's worked for you, you continue to do the exact same thing. Eat familiar foods. Don't be going out of your way to make the newest big recipe of overnight oat bowls or try different things or different nutrition strategies on the day of competition or in your peak, whatever it might be, that you're not used to. Okay? The only change you should be making nutrition-wise is limiting junk food and getting foods that you know you react bad to out of the way, which we've covered already in this lecture. We do not add anything else in for the placebo benefit if you think it's a better food. Okay? Eat your familiar foods at the same times that you usually eat at. Trust your preparation. Just trust that you're prepared. Stay off social media on competition day. Don't be sitting on your phone scrolling through Instagram or getting distracted through your phone, but your phone is for Spotify and Spotify only. Focus on your own performance. Again, you're going to have you don't know who's going to show up on comp day. You know what I mean? Like, you could show up and someone could be literally squat, like their opener squat could be your third deadlift. That could be their first warm up in bench could be your third attempt. Or you could be the strongest guy in your class. You just don't know who's going to show up on the day. So don't worry about absolutely anybody else except for yourself. Stay focused on you, your own performance, what you have to do on that day, and ultimately just getting a total PR, because that's all this is about. It's about self-improvement. You get a total PR and continue to break your own total PRs at every competition to the point where you're sitting in first place and wondering, fucking hell, how did I get here? Like, that's happened. I couldn't count on how many times I've had an athlete start with me and they've always wanted to be the best and be better, and I've ingrained in them, it's just like, just beat your own self so much that one day you'll turn around and you'll be stood on first place anyway, just from focusing on yourself. And then keep your energy internal until you step on the platform. Don't be running around like a headless chicken, as I said. Keep your energy in there. Know how to harness your energy and know when to unleash it. So, the don'ts. Don't try new foods. Don't change up your warm-up routine. Don't attempt weights that you haven't tripled in training for openers. And don't compare yourself to other lifters. So the main self-assessment questions here in this one is, have you made a list of things you will not do differently on comp day? That's important too. Going into a peaking block, I like to reinforce it. These are the things that I'm doing right now that are actually good. I write them on paper. I'm like, my pre-workout nutrition is pretty good. My hydration is good. These are my warm-ups. I'm not changing these warm-ups. I'm going to hit these every time like a robotic, on repeat, every time. Identify the things that you will not do differently. And then, are you planning to try anything new that you haven't tested in training before? Okay, it's good to know these things, and it's good to maybe introduce them early on if you do. So if there's new foods you're introducing or a new warm-up exercise, it's good to get them in a couple of weeks out at least, so you have some time to actually assess the response to these changes. Lifestyle point number 4, get this spotlight on again. So mental preparation, visualization, this is absolutely everything. Like, visualizing competition day, before every competition, see for 2, 3, 4 weeks out from competition, I'm bodyweight squatting in the kitchen while my food's cooking. I'm pretending there's a bar on my back. I'm walking around shops like squeezing my shoulder blades together, just thinking it's my third bench. You gotta visualize these things. Visualize you walking onto the platform. What's it look like? Visualize you laying down on the bench with the weights that you want loaded on that bar. Like, you have to manifest these things. Your mind determines how your body performs. Train it just like you train your lifts. You gotta train your mind every day. You gotta visualize, you gotta be there, you gotta be present, and that's what makes it fun. Key talking points here: visualize each attempt from start to finish daily in the week leading up to comp. Visualize your walkout, visualize your commands, visualize how you're going to squat, visualize what the crowd's going to look like in the venue, visualize what the refs are, visualize how far away they're going to be, visualize you and the music you're going to be listening to and the vibe that you're going to be in. Okay, visualization. Practice breathing techniques and calming strategies that you're going to use in between attempts, especially after your first squat and going into your second squat. There's going to be a lot, and then between your second deadlift and your third deadlift, you're going to have a lot of nerves. You're going to have a lot of kind of anxiety as well. You need to be practicing breathing techniques and calming strategies that are going to help you chill out between attempts, regather your thoughts, and focus in again. Have a cue word or phrase ready for each lift that brings you into focus. Okay, like that one thing, like tight, drive, or explode, or just one thing that as soon as you initiate that cue word, you're ready to go and perform. I like to do it on my walkout on squat, as I'm walking it out, as I'm just lifting the bar out of the bench press rack, and as I'm standing over the top of the deadlift. I'll say it to myself, I'll kind of ingrain it in myself, I'll force it out through my lips, and that's just getting me focused. So self-assessment questions for this one. Have you practiced your mental routine and breathing strategies in training sessions? So the visualization aspect, what are you doing? How are you approaching the bar? Is it the same every single time? Are you doing this in training? And your breathing strategies, your calming strategies, are you doing these? Are you practicing these in training between reps? Or before your big top singles in training, are you spending 30 seconds to go over these strategies and try and really get good at them? If you don't have them, we need to find what they are. And if we have them, we need to improve upon them and know just how much they work. Next question. Can you clearly visualize yourself executing perfect attempts on the platform? That's it. If you're not, then you're missing out on a huge performance booster just from visualizing things. So get good at seeing things happen in your mind. Don't just wait and ring it on meet day. Visualize it. Last lifestyle point, post-competition recovery protocol. The meet doesn't end when you finish your last lift. Recovery starts immediately. So a couple of big things. So immediate post-meet nutrition. Eat a full meal within 1 to 2 hours of finishing your meet. Very high carb, very high protein, just to get that recovery in, because you can die off after a comp, as we all know. Take roughly 3 to 7 days completely off training. In terms of training, I mean powerlifting, heavy powerlifting style training here. Everybody knows the week after a meet, I usually give people 2 to 3 full body accessory based training days, but just take a couple of days off the barbell anyway. A week might be a bit excessive, but a couple of days. Performance debrief. After a couple of days, jump on a call obviously with me, or if you're a coach, you're doing it with your clients or whatever it might be, and analyze what worked, what didn't, what needs adjustment for the next time, and go again. Self-assessment questions for this. Do you have a post-competition meal or recovery plan in place before you compete? So before you compete, you should have, this is what the training looks like for the next week. There's the 2 to 3 recovery days. There's the nutrition strategy for the night after the meet. Usually a big pizza if you're doing it right, but you know what I mean. And then the last question is, have you scheduled your debrief call with your coach? Do you have a list of action items that you're going to talk about in terms of that was good, that was bad, this needs improved? 3 big things right there. You need to write them down after every comp, analyze your performance. Last section, nutrition. This is very, very important. So, last 5 points. Nutrition point number 1, maintaining weight during a peak. Losing or gaining weight during your peak is going to disrupt performance. Okay, stability is everything. Homeostasis is everything. Basically, your body's ability to just sit at neutral. Now, I talked about this at the start. How much performance is detrimented is obviously down to how much someone loses, how clued in someone is with nutrition, and what methods they've used to lose weight. So key teaching points here is stay at maintenance calories for the entire peak phase. So whether it's 4, 8, 12 weeks, before comp, when training really, really hits up, and try and keep body weight within like a kilo. Like I said, the max you can go is kind of 2 to 3 kilo over body weight if you're cutting down, but if you're sitting and your fluctuation is within a kg, you're going to do very good. Basically, body weight, what your body weight is, will determine how much weight you can lift. Mass moves mass. And what I mean by this, especially on bench press, is if you are someone who fluctuates a lot because your nutrition strategy fluctuates a lot, and you could weigh in one day at 74 kg and another day at 79 kg, shout out to Paddy Mulholland. In your 79 kg day, if you go and hit a top single on bench press, you're going to friggin' throw up like such good weights. But natural fluctuation through diet and body weight, if you go back down to 74 for the following week, or 75, whatever it is, that same single ain't going to move the same. And you're going to give yourself very inconsistent patterns of progression. So try and keep your fluctuations minimal and keep everything consistent. Track your daily body weight. Take weekly averages and adjust your calories by 1 to 200 up or down based on if you're losing too quick or gaining too quick or whatever it might be. Obviously, if you're coached by me, we do this all anyway. This is stuff I take care of. Prioritize consistency over perfection. Eating the same foods daily reduces the variables and improves gut adaptation. So just get used to the same things. Repeatability is everything. Can you repeat the same nutrition strategy time and again every single day? Be confident that you're hitting your macros. Be confident where your body weight's going to be. If so, you're absolutely on the ball. So main teaching points here. Is your body weight trending up or down over the last 2 weeks? Or is it stable? Like, how much are you fluctuating by? Is it 2 kilo? Is it 3 kilo? Is it 4 kilo? Like, are your fluctuations crazy? If so, is there any methods that we can use to stabilize these fluctuations? Is it hormonal? Is it nutrition related? Is it stress related? Is it due to poor sleep? There's things that we can do to get things a bit more stable, which is going to directly correlate to more stable performance. Are you tracking daily weigh-ins and calculating your weekly averages to monitor trends? So again, just coming down to being really precise with your metrics on the Vici performance system, especially for the training guys. We monitor everything, and it's reviewed every Sunday before I release a program, and things are adjusted if they need to be. Point number 2 for nutrition is protein and recovery priorities. So protein drives recovery, and recovery drives performance. It's a non-negotiable in a peak. Hit 1.8 to 2.2 grams of protein per kg of body weight, and higher during peaking phases or really intense phases of training. Spread your protein across 4 to 5 meals minimum to maximize muscle protein synthesis throughout the day. So studies show that our chances of gaining strength and muscle is going to be much better if we have our protein spread over 4 to 5 or 6 meals per day than it is 1, 2, or 3 meals per day. Our chances of building muscle and strength will be higher doing that. Prioritize high quality meat sources, fish, eggs, dairy, protein powder over processed or kind of more refined options like, pork and sausages and different things that got there. We want to keep at minimum. So your self-assessment questions here is, can you consistently hit your daily protein target at least 6 to 7 days per week? Are you doing that? If not, what are the strategies that we need to do? How can you look at improving this? And are you spreading it evenly across all your meals or cramming it into 1 to 2 meals? There are 2 big things that you can do instantly, because if you're cramming all 100 plus grams of protein into 2 or 3 meals, it's also going to be a lot of stress on the digestive system, which is, again, stress as I've talked about in this. So it's just going to limit performance and output and what you can do inside the gym. Nutrition point 3, carbohydrate fueling strategy. Carbs fuel performance. Cutting them during a peak is the fastest way to underperform on the platform. On comp day, I tell everybody, your breakfast and the meals and the foods that you eat on comp day, we should be low protein, high carb. We don't rock up to competition with eggs and bacon and whatever it may be. We rock up with pancakes, we rock up with rice, we rock up with our carbohydrate sources, because that's what's going to fuel performance on the day. So in a peak, we want to keep carbs at maintenance minimum or slightly elevated. So typically 4 to 6 grams of carbs per kilogram of body weight can be a really good place to go, especially during a peak, to fuel performance. Time higher carb meals around training to maximize performance and recovery. So your pre-workout meal 1-2 hours before your workout, and your post-workout meal 1 to 2 hours after, and even your wee snack that you have 30 or 45 minutes before your workout should all be really high in carbs. This is where at least 50 to 60% of your daily carb intake should be centered around on your training days. Use intra-workout carbs. So 30 to 60 grams of liquid carbs, like Lucid Sports, or an actual intra-workout supplement for sessions over 90 minutes, or really high intensity SBD days, or really high volume days, can be very beneficial. So if you've got loads of sets, loads of reps, you're fried, things are tough, an intra-workout carb can be a really good option for you to fuel performance. Some self-assessment questions here on this aspect is, are you eating enough carbs to fuel your training, or are you restricting them unnecessarily? Answer it, be honest with yourself. Instant area for improvement. Do you strategically time your highest carb meal around training? If you're training at 8 p.m, you've had a massive big carb meal at breakfast and then a small carb meal at lunch. It's not really making sense. We want to prioritize and get them carbs in and around our training session times. Nutrition point number 4, weight cut strategies if needed. So weight cut strategies are something I'm very passionate about including on. I've done many of them myself, many from many different athletes. I've watched every single method there is. I've coached every method there is. I've seen the good and the bad, and I've failed many a times with it as well. So if you must weight cut, we have to do it systematically to minimize performance impact. There will be a performance impact no matter how much you have to cut, but the amount of performance could be as little as 0.5%, upwards of 15 to 20% of your performance. Which, for example, if you were looking to squat 100 kg, that would mean that you could potentially squat 80 kg. That's a massive difference if you obviously wreck the weight cut. So the first one is a gut cut. Essentially, a gut cut is the best option we want to do because it allows us to, in simple, continue eating the same amount of calories that we're actually eating every day. So from a fuel availability standpoint, it's the exact same. We're just replacing the foods that we're eating with, quote unquote, shite foods, because these foods are going to allow us to fill our calories and weigh a lot less in our stomach, basically. So 3 to 4 days out, switch to a low fiber, high calorie dense food. We're looking at Ben and Jerry's cookies, chocolates, this type of stuff, to reduce gut content without dropping calories. And if someone's on super high protein diet, over 200 grams per day, try and get 60 to 80% of your daily protein intake through protein shakes and water only. So again, it limits the amount of meat that we're having. It keeps meat low as well, and it weighs a lot less in our body. A slow deficit is the second best. So this is kind of where, again, if you're over that 5% of your body weight, we can start with a slow deficit, 8 weeks out or even 16 weeks out. The further away you do it, the slower you can take it, the less aggressive it's going to be, the less detriment to performance it's going to have. So a normal wee calorie deficit is your best option if you're over 5% of your body weight. And water loading, water cut is actually one of the harder things that we want to do. So if you are over 5% of your body weight and you need a cut, within a week or whatever it is, you have like a couple of kg to lose, we're going to have to do a water cut. And this is where we can actually expect to, lose 5, 10, 15% of our body, of our expected performance due to water cutting, because we are severely dehydrating ourselves. We're making a big change in a short space of time, whereas we want to make short changes in big spaces of time if we're over 5% of our body weight. And there's lots of different ways that you can do it, but a water cut, typically 7 days out, can be very beneficial for losing a large amount of weight in a short space of time. It just comes with the warrant that it probably will be the biggest detriment to your performance. So, questions for the weight cut strategies. So the first thing is, how far out from your competition are you? And which weight cut strategy makes the most sense for how much you have to lose? Where's your body weight at? When's the next comp? What's going to be your plan? If you're within 5%, you can just hold that the whole way through the comp and you can do a gut cut. If you're over 5% and you've got lots of time, we're going to do a slow deficit and get down to approximately 5%, and then we can do the gut cut. If you've got a short space of time and you have a lot of weight to lose, you go on and potentially have the water cut as well as a gut cut. And this is just when we start to notice the most detriment to performance. Have you practiced your chosen weight cut strategy before, or will competition be your first attempt? Everybody knows that I love getting people to practice these gut cuts 1, 2, 3 weeks out from their competition to make sure, number one, they react well to it from a digestion standpoint. All these different foods, maybe if we are including them, we're not getting bloated up and we're reacting well to it. And then secondly, how much weight do we actually lose on these strategies? Am I losing enough weight? If I have 2.5 kg to cut and I'm doing a gut cut and I'm only losing 2 kilo and I'm half a kilo short, at least I like to know that 2 weeks out, not like, the week of competition, then scramble around on the day because I'm overweight. So know how much weight you lose. And then the last thing, which is most important too, is actually know, is it making a detriment to my performance? I like to use big SBD days in the build-up of competition. I like to get people to do a gut cut before these competition days, or the water load before these SBD days, so that I can see exactly if it's having a performance detriment. You'll be going into SBD days being like, nah, I definitely felt shite that day. And yeah, it's good to know just how much it's impacting you. Then the last point, nutrition, is competition week nutrition protocol. The 48 hours before competitions are when nutrition makes or breaks your performance. 48 hours out, we eat familiar, easy digestible foods. No experimenting with new meals, new restaurants. Keep it consistent. Weigh into the platform. Eat your biggest meal 3 to 4 hours before your first lift. So basically, if you're due to be up lifting at 10 a.m, unless you are fasting, of course, because your body weight is too high, we still want to eat our biggest high carb meal, prioritizing that big carb source, keeping protein kind of moderate and low fat for quick digestion 3 to 4 hours before your first lift. Point number 3, between attempts, sip liquid carbs like Lucozades and Lucozade Sports, Gatorade, whatever it might be. Eat on small digestible snacks like bananas, rice cakes, gummies, things that are high GI, sugary carbs that are going to give you quick energy. We don't want any protein between attempts. Self-assessment questions on this. Have you planned out every single meal from 48 hours out? Whether it's gut cutting, whether it's water loading, whether it's just consistent strategy. What is the plan? And do you know exactly what you'll eat immediately after weigh-in and how long it will be before your flight? So if you're fasting up the weigh-in, do you know what your first meal is going to be? Do you know what the strategy is going to be to what you're going to drink? How far out you're going to eat your meal from your lifting? And what you're going to eat in between your lift as well. Don't just wing it. Don't just go and grab a pack of Haribo because you see everybody else doing it. Be strategic with it. Think. The things you need to think about are, what reacts well to me? Am I allowed to eat before I weigh in, or am I fasting? How am I going to approach this? And what are the meals that I'm used to eating consistently and performing well on? They're the big ones, so that I would always think about. So, conclusion. The VG competition advantage. Competition preparation isn't about doing more. It's about doing the right things, and it's about being real systematic with it and having plans in place. So your action steps review each section and identify 2 to 3 areas where you're currently falling short. Again, like I said, if you're using the workbook and you're working through it and you're writing your answers down, which I highly recommend you do, it's going to give you a shit ton of good information that you can go and improve on straight away coming into your next competition. Communicate these gaps with me. Make sure we're planning to address these. So whether you're a monthly coaching client, we have a monthly call, or it's a block-to-block call, whatever it is, just make sure you have these notes down. Or if you're a performance system client, we can get calls every kind of 2-3 weeks. Let's get one booked in. And make sure that we are communicating these across and with plans in place. So once you fill these out, keep note of them. Practice your competition protocols. So your commands, your warm-ups, your nutrition timing in training before your meet day. So with your commands on squat, you have your 3 commands. You're going to walk it out. You're going to get the squat command. Once you are in a good position, the referee's happy with it, you will perform your squat. You'll stand up and you're not allowed to rack it in until the referee says rack. On bench press, you'll just unrack it normally the way you do. You hold it out over your arms. When the referee's happy, they're going to tell you to start. You'll lower the bar to your chest. You're going to pause there until you hear the referee say press. You're going to press upwards. And you're going to hold the lockout position until the referee tells you to rack, and then you're going to throw the bar back into the rack. On deadlift, you've only one command. You go out to deadlift, you pick it up as normal, and when you're standing tall and the referee's happy with it, they're going to tell you to down, and that's when you go down with the barbell. Action step number 4, trust your preparation, act with confidence on the platform. Be confident in yourself, trust yourself, you've done the work, you've put the effort in, you've went to the 1% that we've covered in this PowerPoint. Everything from nutrition, recovery, training, we've covered them all. Be confident in your preparation. And remember, training PRs mean nothing if you can't display them on the platform. Systematic preparation in these 4 pillars is what separates lifters who bomb out and those who dominate. So basically, the lifts that you want and can do in the gym, if you want them to go and train, if you want to smash them in competition, you want to get even more than that in competition, we have to be doing more. We have to be putting more in than the average person, which is what we do. And it's everything we've covered here in this. So that is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. It was a long one. I don't know. This is the first one. I don't know if these are going to be as long as this in the future. Maybe if there are long, maybe like 2 a month or something. But there will be a lot of kind of 5, 10, 15-minute ones as well, 100%. I just thought this was a really good one to get kick-started. I had a client ask for it last week, so really in the end of month form. So decided to pull this one out of the bag for the first one. So that is your guide to comp day preparation at Vici Strength. Remember, guys, this wee form and Google Doc, you'll get one for every single episode of this, and I highly recommend you saving them into your own wee folder. Create a Google Drive folder called Vici Education and store all these away. This is all gold mine data for me and you to use to improve your training, but also for you to learn a lot of knowledge and education on powerlifting and training, as I have, over the last decade. I've probably spent over close to £27,000 now on education, mentors, training, coaches, courses, CPDs, everything to do with what we're looking to get better at. So if that also interests you, just keep working through them. So hope you all enjoyed this first episode, guys. Like I said, request what you want to learn. Let me know in the end of month forums, and we will get you sorted.